1 year ago, we launched this podcast, Dove Weather.
1 year ago.
Yeah.
One small year ago, we got together in a little place. We threw a little party. I looked incredible.
So
My
did
outfit
I.
was incredible. Yeah, your outfit. We were both wearing boiler suits.
Yeah, I haven't worn that outfit again yet because I'm waiting for the right moment where I'm not going to just be like, oh, this was better when I was wearing it at the anniversary or at the launch party. But yeah, we're having a little anniversary party right now, and I'm glad we get to celebrate because the podcast has changed. We have changed in the last year. A year ago, you weren't out to our listeners as queer, and look how much our podcast has grown just from that.
Yeah.
We started with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and now we're doing Empress of, and we're getting some more of that Latin energy in there.
We have gone through a lot. Like, if you've been listening, if you've been a day one ahead, like you have seen us probably become better at this. I hope so. I feel that way. I think you've definitely become better at it. I've become better at it.
Nomi's become better at it. Yeah.
Nomi's incredible at making sure that we don't do this without me sneezing.
Definitely.
And in that year, we have covered a lot of different art and media. And I've gotten to do it with you. Yeah. This is being released
around Thanksgiving.
So, like, I'm gonna say that that's I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for Marcy and her support and wonderful point of view that she brings to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm thankful for you, AP. Truly couldn't do this without you. The voice you bring to this, it keeps surprising me in really great ways. You have a brain that feels so unique in your way of expressing things. I'm really glad that we're doing this project together.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm very much excited to continue to do it, and I want to tell all the millions of listeners out there that I am happy to see you enjoy our show here, and thank you. Yeah. I love it. I love doing it.
Thank you. Nomi is being really loud right now, so I think all three of us are really thankful for all of our listeners, and to many more episodes to come.
Hey, Marcy. If love can't make you, break you, shape you, then what is love?
That is a great question, and I think the person to answer it is Empress of.
Empress of the wonderful Honduran American Latina singer. L
So we're talking about Lorelei Rodriguez, and she is from LA, and she released an album called For Your Consideration this year, and that is the album that has kind of spurred us to talking about Empress of. She's been making music for a while now, over 10 years.
Yeah.
But I saw her in concert earlier this year with my girlfriend, and it was a really good experience. She played at Thalia Hall here in Chicago, and the vibrancy that she brought to that concert was amazing. I really liked holding my hand with my girlfriend and just soaking in all the vibes. I remember when the opener was playing. The opener was good, but like I consciously felt how tired I was of standing during the opener. And then, like, you know how much I love my regs. I had to sit down a little bit during the break in between, and I didn't feel that at all when Empress was performing. She was giving me Sucia, she was giving me Femenine, and I didn't want to sit down. I wanted to be standing for that.
Te querías poner sucia con tu lesbiana.
Sí.
Thalia Hall is maybe the eminent venue for people like us, I think, because I've been there multiple times this year. I was not there to see Empress of because I don't really have too much experience with her. You're pretty much the person that put me on.
Yeah, and I'm glad I got to do so. I remember when you were like looking her up and you're like, whoa, she collaborated with all these artists, like even Purity Ring, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like my Edmonton dream pop duo, and I haven't heard of Empress of, but actually I have now figured out that I have heard of Empress of, and I've actually like jumped around some her music. But you haven't been a day one like since like how you were with Charlie, but you have like history with her.
Yeah.
You saw her way back.
I saw her back in 2016 at the Pitchfork Music Festival.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, Pitchfork's like, we have decided not to do Pitchfork Festival in Chicago in 2025, and everyone is like, oh, so you mean it's never coming back, right? Because like that's the type of trauma that we were dealing with Condé Nast and GQ.
They were like, the Chicago Park District isn't giving us an incredible tax break, allegedly in Minecraft.
Yeah, they're like, after that MUNA concert, we don't need to give the queers anything more. Like we
have
gave them
reached
too much.
Peak queer. We have to leave Chicago.
Absolutely. But yeah, back in 2016, that was like probably my third time going to Pitchfork. And that was back when I was like catching up on all the artists that were going to play there beforehand. And so I listened to Empress of's like 2015 album in preparation for that. But I think like how I was first introduced to her was when she was on the Blood Orange track around the same time.
Who is an artist I don't know about either. But like,
I mean, he had the song that was prominent in Challengers. So if you've seen that movie,
I haven't.
You should. But yeah, I feel like that was like around Blood Orange's boom time. But yeah, I feel like those were both artists that Pitchfork like really supported, and I wasn't like a mega fan of Empress of then, but like I really liked her, and I'm really glad that I'm able to like return to her music now and like see how she's grown as an artist.
And me being like a fresh fan, I have listened to a lot of her music, not all of it, but there's been developments. One thing that Empress of is gonna do is say, hey, I've gone through something, listen to it in this album.
Yeah. So let's start talking about some of the songs in For Your Consideration. And I really liked the name of the album immediately because as someone who definitely like pays some attention to like awards stuff, it definitely felt bold to just be like, hey, this album is called For Your Consideration. And I've read in some of her interviews that she's like, yeah, I don't even need the awards. This is me calling my shot and being like, I deserve the awards, even if you don't give them to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, one song I know that you kind of glomped onto immediately was Femenine. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so Femenine is maybe the perfect song to kind of describe the kind of the boy I like. Fuck it, I must say it.
Let's go.
You see, Empress of made this song Femenine to say, hey, I love a feminine boy, and her and I, we share the same pleasure. And in this it's a very dancey song. It's a very joyful song. And it's also very much a song about kind of playing with gender and gender expectation. Femenine is feminine, of course. But she's using it to describe that she wants a fella, a guy that's a little feminine. I read this interview with in between her and Melissa Barrera from Scream fame.
Yeah, I read that interview too.
She talks about how she got the inspiration for this song when she was in Miami, and she was at a strip club, and she was seeing like dudes just throw money at these strippers, and she was like, "Why can't this be reversed? Why can't you have some juicy guys slathering that shit on a queen sitting down throwing that money?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." And as she says, "I want the roles reverse. I want to be the cowboy. I want to be on top." And this song's about that.
I'm really glad that they're giving you exactly what you want. Like, if you compare it to me, I love this song. I don't relate to wanting a feminine man because I'm like pure lesbian like that. But it does remind me of like Carly Rae Jepsen songs, which I feel like both of these artists, even when they're talking about what seems like a heterosexual love, they appeal to like queer people when they write these because, trust me, in the queer communities I run in, people love fruity, feminine men. So yeah, I love that she sings about this, and I love that, especially in her latest album, she loves to put Espanol in her songs. Sometimes she's like mixing it up between the Spanish and the English. And I feel like it creates a lot more specificity with her songs.
It definitely shows where she's coming from. Someone who's not... It works and plays in the pop EDM style, but very much influenced by her actual experience, not the expectation of what should be pop. I do like this song a lot, and I do like the gender expression because she does go on to like describe herself in masculine terms, and she like literally says like she wants the feminine boy to call her daddy, and I'm like, yeah. And then there's also like there's some like slap for the non-binary people with the Latine, which is part of the like bilingualness of Empress of bringing in the Latine, which is the non-gendered version of Spanish that has grown in popularity over the last couple of years. I do want to ask you something though.
Go ahead.
When you heard the song, did at all the feeling of she's talking about AP jump patch?
That never came to me. No. Yeah, I definitely was not thinking about you.
I can't believe,
at all.
Like really, like
No.
you seriously didn't hear the maybe this is a language barrier. You know, I know español es tu lenguaje segundo type shit. But
I did think that like this would be a good topic for Dev Weather, but I don't think I was thinking of like you like in terms of like related to this song.
Do you really not hear her saying, I want a man que me cocine, that can cook for me? I know how to cook and I'm good at it. Are you seriously telling me that you heard, oh, I want a man que me lleve al cine, takes me to the cinema? I love movies. I take people to movies.
Yeah, seriously?
You're
the only man who cooks and is a cinephile. Yeah, that's definitely not a stereotype of like cinephile men ruining movies.
Okay,
people.
all right, okay. I accept that. But like, did you not hear? Oh, que baile pa mí, like, as in like, they will dance for me. Like, I love to dance.
Dancing is definitely a big part of your identity. But yeah, I think I was free to not link you to that.
She literally is like, oh, alguien solo pa mí, someone only for me. Like, monogamy is my shit. Like, look, I don't know how far this podcast like goes, okay? But Empress of, if you are hearing this, I am single, and I want you to know that I will cook for you. I will take you to the movies. I will take off your clothes. I'll call you daddy.
It took until the 1 year anniversary for you to start using this to try to find lovers. So I think we have to be glad that like it at least took 1 year. Like it could have been like at least you weren't doing this for Amy Acker in the Person of Interest episode or something.
I just want you to know that a year, sure, but it's also like it's very like. What? Sorry, this is more specifically about Empress of than about me being horny. But hey, Empress of, if you're ever in Chicago, we missed each other last week. But like
Yeah, I guess to be fair, you did get pretty horny for the Julio Torres episode for some of the people on Los Spookies. So
okay, but that I'm gonna go ahead and put myself in horny jail.
Yeah, we're abolitionists, but we can put people in horny jails because
horny jail will survive the revolution. Sorry.
Yeah, no jail, but horny jail. Yeah, and I'm glad we brought up revolution because we're going to get more into that later in the podcast. And I think that like as we're talking about these songs, one thing I want to think about is like, are these songs revolutionary? Are we going to be listening to these songs when we're in the revolution? I know one song that I'll be listening to when the revolution happens, and that's "Kiss Me," featuring Rina Sawayama. And I feel like this is one of the things that like really elevates the album even more. Is that there's two collaborations on this album that I feel like are aimed like specifically for me and for other queer women. The other being her Empress of's collaboration with MUNA. But first, let's start with Rina Sawayama. "Kiss Me," like, first of all, I love that.
I am dangling the I'm dangling the keys of horny jail.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna like try to proposition Rina Sawayama or anything like that. But I will say that this song is a very fun song to make out to, and Empress have actually referenced that in her Instagram post today, like commemorating the end of her tour. Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, Rina Sawayama, I love when she does stuff by herself. I love when she collaborates like with Charlie XCX. And I feel like it was like a genius move for this collaboration. And Empress and Rina Sawayama were touring together. And apparently they just like loved like being together and like collaborating together so much. They're like, let's just make a song together. Let's just make a music video together.
"Kiss Me" is one of those songs that like I listened to a couple of times, but I just kind of moved on. What do you like about it? Like,
I mean, honestly, I feel like at the base level, it's just like a song where some hotties are singing kiss me slowly, slowly." The song has all you need. And I feel like, it's like the fourth song on the album.
You're a little bit of a lip-hungry slut.
A little bit, yeah. I'm a freak that way. Yeah, I think it's like, so I listen to this album like all the way through, and I feel like once it gets to "Kiss Me," I'm like, bam, I am in it now. And I think that it's a song that like works great, not just on an album, but also like in playlists. And I think there's just like, you need those songs that like you associate with like specific memories, specific activities. And I think that that's like a big reason why I like this song so much.
You're definitely like a time and place type of music listener.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you're definitely more of like, I'm trying to connect the lyrics, and kind of like figure out what my take is on this song. If when you're on the dance floor, you're like, I'm trying to rock it to this. I'm trying to shake my booty.
If I'm on the dance floor, like the song could be actively saying how much it wants me to like perish, and and if it has a good bass line, I'm still gonna dance.
Yeah. So if like Donald Trump releases a song, I heard that he released a song where like the January 6th like prisoners are like singing or something. If they play that at the club, you're gonna be dancing.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I don't know how much like the listeners know, but you are on parole from your actions in January 6th. Like,
yeah, specifically because I tried to steal MUNA, the video game, which they don't want you to think exists, but trust me, it does exist. It just so happens that the Capitol had the only copy. It's not my fault.
yeah, Wu-Tang Clan style. Only one piece of media of it exists.
Yeah, and they're putting it up for auction. And just like on Hunter x Hunter, I was like, this is my greed island, and I was like, I'm gonna bet everything on it.
Empress is someone who does like a lot of collaborations, so it's not just Rina. MUNA's in here too. Mm-hmm. That's like, that's like your Oreo and your warm cup of milk.
Yeah,
two perfect tastes together.
And I think that MUNA, I feel like that was a big reason, like why Empress kind of came back in my circle. Is like once I saw that MUNA made a song with Empress, I'm like, damn, okay, cool.
She got the MUNA bump.
Yeah, the MUNA bump. I would love for Lorelai to be on an episode of Chaotic. That would just like the rest of my year will be set if that happened.
The song like was released as a single like at the beginning of the month of the year. You would think that like by now she would have swung by, but look, I'm not the producer of Chaotic, all right? Yeah. I am the producer of Dove Weather, and I just want to know what are your thoughts on What's Love?
I think, especially coming at the end of the album, it's just like a really nice capper, and I feel like a lot of albums they end in a way where you're like, oh, I guess that just happened. But this one is like it's like in contention for the best song on the album. And I think one key to it is it doesn't just feel like a MUNA song that Empress of is on. Frankly, it feels more like the opposite. And she talked about that in some of her interviews that she wanted there to be this cohesiveness, which I really feel on this album. But I feel like especially with What's Love, like there's like an uptick. It's like it brings me up, and then it's like, damn, let's just listen to the album all the way over again.
It is more rock forward than a lot of the songs that Empress of produces, who in my opinion are very synth forward. And so like it livens you up. It like pops you up.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's like we were talking off mic about how MUNA and Empress of both kind of had this like softer romantic side to them that like really appeals to the sapphics in the family.
And that appeals because in my estimation, it's soft music that is focused on the more bubblegummy side of love, and it's also it's not vulgar. Mm-hmm. There's no vulgarity in this. There's no conversation of like, fucking someone's brains out, or there's also no the love or that is being expressed, the kind that like you want, the erotic love that is being expressed isn't regressive or isn't heteronormative or like attached to like Christian norms. It's almost a sense of we want to find love, we want to have sex, and we want to do it in a kind of like respectful way.
I mean, I can definitely see. I mean, Katie Gavin has some of her lyrics get a little bit more disrespectful, but yeah, I definitely agree with you that like, yeah, like I think it's definitely exemplified in like the Aftertaste music video that Katie Gavin did, where a lot of it is just her being mostly nude, like in her bed or like being painted by people, and yeah,
That is though like outside of the sonic part of
uh-huh.
like that is Katie Gavin bringing in the larger like perception that she's like advocating for.
Mm-hmm.
But in it like in What's Love, there's no like commentary. There's of like a sexual act, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think about MUNA, and you know MUNA better than I do. I know they get a little raunchy, but they never like step into vulgarity, right?
Yeah, I think so. If there are any Muna super fans listening to this, throw tomatoes at me for not remembering like a random lyric. But yeah, I think so. There's not really anything on the same level as Chapel Rowan talking about like magic wands and rabbits.
Or being knee deep in a passenger seat.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like in Silk Chiffon, they're talking about like being on top of each other and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't really go that far.
I mean, Empress of talks about being like in Femenine. She's talking about how she wants to be on top. How she wants to be like, she wants to be the cowboy. She wants to be the vaquero.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like with songs like Sucia, like it definitely gets more suggestive. But and I think that it really works well with like the concert experience, especially like Empress of has some like amazing backup dancers, and they created this really visual experience that like makes me want to see Empress of again. Let's make it a three-peat, and this time I'll bring you along and see what you think.
Nice.
But
I will be bringing a love letter, some roses, maybe a big sign that says I will cook for you.
Let's talk about more of the revolutionary side. Let's talk about You've Got to Feel featuring Amber Mark. I'm actually going to have us listen to that song a little bit. Okay, we just listened to the song by Empress of featuring Amber Mark. You've Got to Feel. This is a song referencing capitalism, referencing the system, referencing revolution, the founding fathers, who's holding the pen, the 1%. There's a lot of ideas in this song.
Yeah. This is a song that I actually hadn't heard until today. And one of the things that I was feeling listening to Empress of is she touches on a lot of like actual political concepts. There just seems to be this kind of missing part, maybe the missing part of like of just like explicitness. And this has it.
Yeah, this song is definitely more explicit politically than the rest of the songs that we've talked about. And Amber Mark is the one who kind of has some of those more politically direct lyrics. So it does make me wonder how much of it is her bringing it. And I think it's important to talk about the context of when this song was made. It was made in 2020. It was after the police murdered George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests.
Fuck you, Derek Chauvin.
Exactly. And fuck 12, really. She talked about in the interview with Melissa Barrera that like, she was on the streets and like that inspired her. And then she wrote that song. So I almost feel like it was a moment of like, artists felt compelled to write something because it was such a big thing happening in the country at the time.
It had this feeling of mass uprising, something that's happened a lot during the 2010s. During the 2010s, all the way to pretty much, today, frankly, there has been a massive amount of protests and a massive amount of people actually describing their dissatisfaction with the current system. In 2020, I think was the first time in my life where I felt like something was actually happening.
I'm gonna read some of the lyrics in this song. We got a sickness, capitalism, root of our symptoms. We've been conditioned to think it's the system. We gotta fix it. Open your eyes. No dent in the system. Work just right for the people that built it. That's the piece of the puzzle we're missing. The American dream really twisted. Land of the free is what they had written. Think about who was holding the pen then. This is exactly what they had envisioned. 1% hold the power position. And it goes on. And
Yeah. It reads like something Gramsci would have written.
Yeah. And I do think that like that was a moment when, we talk a lot about this on the show about like what is accepted, what's within the acceptable boundaries for an artist. That was a moment when the acceptable boundaries, I think, were bigger than they are now. Like
So much bigger.
Yeah, you have like some pro-Palestine songs, with Macklemore and others, but you don't get like a lot of like specifically anti-capitalist songs from like pop artists these days.
I mean, I remember Run the Jewels dropped an album
Yeah.
in 2020. An album that I liked, but Run the Jewels became what Run the Jewels became. I remember that time as maybe this feeling of like actual change coming. I've lived a short life. Some might say I've lived a long life. But I did live through Occupy, and I did live through the exhaustive and boring, frankly, like analysis of how Occupy failed. And this didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
It felt like there was a real revolutionary desire. And I think now after the election and both the hangover and the cafecito after the hangover, there's kind of this feeling that, is there a possibility for a major change? Can a revolution happen? And so that's something we don't really like touch upon directly here, but one of the things that I do want to broach here is saying that when we talk about revolution, we talk about this sense of not just this sense of political change or just cultural change, but in the micro and the macro change, the one that you can access in your own day-to-day life, and the one that we can all access if the willingness is there.
Yeah, in 2020, we had the biggest protests we had ever seen, and I think there were like very extreme conditions at the time that we were all stuck in our own homes, and we had all day to like look at the news about police murdering people and getting no punishment for it. And I think that this is something that like a lot of organizers have like talked about, is like, are we ever going to have that moment again? And I believe, yes, we will, because conditions are only going to get worse as the climate change disaster continues, as the U.S. government finds new ways to commit violence towards us. After over a year of the genocide in Palestine, it's obvious that like the violence is just going to continue, and I think that eventually the conditions will happen. But it is really tough to like sit with the idea that like we're going to have to just like keep going until the revolution happens, and we can build towards that. We can build community, we can do all these things, but like in 2020, it felt like it was within arm's reach, and it definitely doesn't feel that way anymore.
Yeah, and one of the, we're not the type of podcast that like does postmortems on shit or like even focuses too much on like the brainy side of things. We're too hot for that. There is like something that's happened over the last couple of years, which is like the level of suffering has increased. Like the exploitation has only increased over the last 4 years. The precarity of existence has only increased. The heads, the big bosses up top, they love revolution. They're constantly revolutionizing,
disrupting.
Yeah, the way that they do shit. They disrupt my fucking life, I'll tell you that. One of the ways that I see it is credit being used in more financialized ways. Like there's been a big jump in the use of systems like Klarna that let you have multiple payments for any purchase online. And I've seen it for some things as simple as like clothing, or something as big as like mobile transportation. Like I've seen it for like electric bikes, for example. But they exist for a lot of different things. I've seen some companies that do this type of like monthly payment structure for things like guns. It's just everywhere. Yeah. And now, like, is there a real sense of revolutionary like desire or want? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's something that will percolate over time. I feel like when I was younger, I mean, first of all, I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like until 9/11, I wasn't really paying attention to the news.
9/12, your eyes open.
So I feel like there was a long part of my life where I wasn't thinking about revolution, and then since 2016, I've kind of been thinking about revolution all the time. And I feel like after Bernie and after the uprisings and COVID and everything, it felt like, wow, there's like shit happening all the time. And there's still been shit happening all the time, but like, it definitely feels like we've been in a bit of an ebb. I don't know if that's going to change at all with the second Trump term. I think definitely there will be things like immigrant defense that will get more people engaged. Certainly in the organizing meetings that I've been in and the ones that I've seen, that a lot more people are showing up, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, our grandchildren will be listening to this episode and be like, ha, ha, ha. They didn't know that revolution was just around the corner.
I mean, I hope so. Because like exploitation isn't the number one driver for like monumental change. If it was like we'd be going through it right now, But the one of the things is the need for like cultural revolution or cultural artifacts that kind of help produce that bigger sense of we can have change, we should have change, and this is what it might look like. And I kind of look for that in art now. I kind of look for someone presenting a bigger idea than like what is maybe allowed or whatever's gonna get radio play. I think that's why I kind of really, when we talked about Richard Pryor, I really liked Richard Pryor and what he was saying. It almost feels like I didn't even say it well enough. But I think artists like Empress of are presenting a possibility, a vision for what revolution might look like, and MUNA, and a couple of other ones here and there. But like today, for example, we're recording this on the day where the ICC came out with the arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Two of the biggest motherfuckers on earth right now, causing absolute destruction in Gaza. And when I heard that and I read about it, frankly, within me, I kind of opened up my eyes again. I felt like change is possible again.
It's interesting because I feel like there have been so many instances of like things that have happened that in a more just world would have led to the genocide ending, and none of those have actually panned out. And I feel like that has made me like a little bit more cynical about like the daily news about these types of things. Like I didn't know about this until you told me. I don't have AP notifications on.
Associated Press. She definitely has notifications for every time I text her.
Yeah, different AP. Yeah, I mean, but it does give me hope to hear that you had a feeling of hope for a moment. Like I feel like we're so used to losing that we wouldn't even know what to do when we win.
And that is, I've read so much over the last couple of years about people that want big change, people that want a revolution, but don't have a plan for once they win. And right now, winning doesn't even feel like a possibility, but it does feel like maybe the political revolution might not happen anytime soon. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Who knows? But one of the things that I advocate for, and I think we advocate for here, is the change in mindset, the cultural revolution side of things. To bring it back to Empress of, one of the things that I like a lot about her work is that she kind of asks you to feel your emotions.
Yeah.
Not to hide from it, not to shy from expressing it either, but for you to like actually deal with the thorns of it or the orgasm of it, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely been a shift lately in art, and then also honestly like random Instagram inspirational posts that make you
which is the Martin Luther pinning things onto the church door of the 21st century.
Yeah, it's interesting because like people are fleeing Twitter after realizing that Elon Musk has turned it into a shithole that has helped Trump win, and headed to Blue Sky where, everything's great over here. By the way, no bother. Now on Blue Sky.
Follow us.
Yeah, but I think the shift to like feeling things more and not trying to like avoid things and being able to process things is good. The way I process things is by getting high and watching music videos, potentially Empress of music videos. So it's always a question with me of like, okay, how much do I need to feel things? Like if I'm going to therapy, if I'm doing all these things, like, am I feeling it enough? Well, how do you process those types of things?
I just went through something pretty big.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
First I've heard about it.
And one of the things that I was doing for the 2 weeks after I got my shit rocked was just crying randomly. crying in a way that like maybe lasted 10, 20 seconds, almost nothing. But enough for me to be like, I kind of need to just do this.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I'm eating right now. I kind of just need to do this. Then I could get back to chewing. I do find my experience a little bit different. Because even before the incident, I would tell people, yeah, let this hurt you. Let this feel bad. Like, it's better to feel bad for the moment or the handful of moments that you are first experiencing something than to like bottle it up and find some disastrous way of expressing it later.
This goes back to our Full Metal Alchemist episode with let it all out, let it all out. Yeah, so Empress of, she's telling us to feel our feelings, and definitely when I'm listening to For Your Consideration, I'm feeling some feelings. I feel like I don't cry as much as you certainly have been crying lately, and I've tried to figure out.
You call me a baby?
I've tried to figure out like how healthy that is. Like, should I force myself to cry? Is that going to be better for me? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, like tell me more about the emotions that were brought up when you listened to this album.
For Your Consideration, practically none. Practically none. Like it's dancey, and I felt joy through listening to it. But when it comes to the oeuvre of Empress of, the album that grabbed my heart was I'm Your Empress of, which overall is an album about an abusive relationship. It's about dealing with the kind of larger narcissistic approach of an abuser in the kind of both the toll and kind of the attraction to a person. From the second song all the way to the ninth song, it's all about this relationship that she was in. In it, it's about each song has like lyrics that show kind of have abusive things for it. Like one of them being love is a drug. I start to waste all the days thinking about ulterior motives. Like she's not allowed to just be in peace because everything that this person does can be an issue. She follows this on to like another song like Should Have, where she says, should have been one kiss, should have been one fight. Like this is kind of the push and pull of an abusive relationship. And then this goes all the way up until the ninth song, which is Maybe This Time. And one specific lyric being, your violent love ain't a bluff. I don't want your touch this time. And at that point, that is when she kind of breaks off the relationship here. To kind of connect this to the larger concept we're talking about here, the need to leave someone is, I think, a much bigger deal now. I think one of the big pieces of advice people have for kind of anybody, something I definitely see on TikTok a lot, something I see on some like advice columns too, is that, yeah, you can just leave the person.
The classic dump him sweatshirt.
Dump him or go no contact. Go no contact with that mother-in-law.
Yeah. And I feel like 5 or so years ago, there were like the viral Twitter posts about like, you can just cancel on all your friends and just have a self-care night, which is like kind of a different version of that mantra. of just make sure that your needs are what you take care of.
Yeah, protect your peace, or in this case, yeah, go ahead, leave the Democratic Party. You don't have to vote for the president. You could just vote down ballot.
Yeah, I think, with this album, "Love Is a Drug" is my favorite song on that album. I think that was a song where, like, I wasn't sure if I listened to this album before, and then when I got to that song, I'm like, okay, damn, like, I remember this song. And yeah, it's interesting that, like, you kind of relate emotionally more to that than For Your Consideration. Where with For Your Consideration, she's like, I mean, the title track, like, it was inspired by dating this director who, like, after their relationship ended, he immediately started his For Your Consideration campaign for, like, his movie. But otherwise, like, she tried to, like, leave behind what she did in I'm Your Empress Of, where it's more about breakup. It's more about talking about this relationship. And do you think that, like, what do you think is the reason why you kind of are more emotionally connected to this in comparison to For Your Consideration?
I think I don't connect much at all with the relationship stuff. I've never been in, like, an abusive relationship, and I've never needed to deal with that pain. I'm very fortunate for that. One of the things that I do relate to a lot is kind of this theme of healing, and this theme of centering your personal strength. In the case of I'm Your Empress Of, it's kind of a feminine strength. It's spoken through Empress Of Mom, the literal mother of Empress Of. In the beginning, her voice comes in, but specifically in the song Void, she has two lines that are also spoken. She says, "You want to make yourself the woman that nobody is gonna mistreat." And she follows it with saying, "Woman is a word, but you make yourself the woman you want to be." I'm not a woman, right? And I never will be. There's kind of this beautiful admiration of motherhood or motherness that Empress Of is using to say, you can be more. You can stand up. You do have everything within you to demand a true and sensible reality. And one of the ways that I see that is through the use of language. I Am Your Empress Of is mostly English. It's pretty much all English. There's only a couple of lines in Spanish. And I actually see that as an admiration for the struggle that Empress Of's mom went through. As the first song says, talks about not knowing English but needing to learn it and having to do it, having to exist.
Yeah, I really enjoyed in the interviews that I read her talking about her mom and talking about how her mom didn't want her to be an artist at first. And, she released music in Spanish early on because she knew that, like, that was the way that her mom could enjoy it. And I really like, she calls herself Empress Of because of a tarot reading that she received where someone gave her the Empress card and they made a joke about it. And suddenly it's like, yeah, I'm the Empress. I'm your Empress Of. I also like that she kind of plays with these ideas of, like, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be a girl? And for your consideration, there's the song "What Type of Girl Am I?" And then of course you have "Woman" as a word, which I feel like these also connect to the MUNA song, "Kind of Girl." And I feel like this is a reason why I like this music so much, is that like there's a trans reading of some of these where it's like it helps me think about like, oh, what type of girl am I? What is it? What word is infused in the word woman when I say that I'm a trans woman? Because I feel like if you're trans, you think a lot about like, wait a minute, am I actually a woman or am I actually like non-binary? She, they, and there's like a lot of mental gymnastics you do, and you're like, you know what? I don't want most cis people to know that I'm doing this because they'll figure out a way to weaponize that against me. But I'm glad that like Empress of like really engages with like some of these ideas.
Yeah, and that's why I like this this album. Like connects with me way more. Because there is all this like kind of internal edification in it that I think I might need at this moment, and also that I connect with like deeply as also being a child of immigrants, and also at one point not knowing English and needing to learn it, and also needing to dig into myself in survive in a country that I was born in, but throughout my whole life has said I don't deserve to be here and I should not be here. And in the same interview that we're referencing, Empress talks about playing in front of Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
And how a band member of hers says, your mother didn't come here from Honduras for you to be a little bitch and not play in front of Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, I love that. Partially because it's another MUNA connection since they performed with Alanis at Pitchfork. This, and I think like what you just talked about makes me excited to see what she creates next, because like the music she was making for 2016, it didn't have as much of an anti-capitalist message as the song with Amber Mark. But like I think it was pushing boundaries in some ways, and that the way that that it like pushed Spanish language music to more English speaking Americans. Like it shouldn't be on Empress's shoulders to like respond to Trump's like mass deportation plan.
It's on all of us.
Yeah, it's on all of us, exactly. It's on the mass movement that we're creating. But yeah, I'm glad you shared your experience of being in an immigrant family and like feeling like America like wants to make you feel like you don't belong here, and I
fucking do, and
yeah,
I will.
exactly,
There is
exactly.
nothing that's gonna stop me from
That's
saying
right.
that. If I woke up today with fresh eyes, seeing a new possible world where criminals are declared criminals, I want to see the day when the criminals that rob and steal everything from us, the working class, to be declared criminal. And that, to me, that's enough.
Exactly. I hate like the Reddit threads where people are being like, oh, some people aren't reading the room on immigration, and if I have to choose between housing immigrants and funding them and getting better roads, I want to choose the better roads. I want to yell at them, you don't have to choose. Like they're the ones who are forcing you to make it seem like you have to choose between them because they're doing that so that they don't have to give you shit. And they're going to fund a genocide in Palestine with their money instead. They're going to fund the police instead. So, yeah, I'm just like, this is not the narrative that can be prevalent right now.
And you know, like I am telling you, whoever's listening, as much as me, as much as I'm telling Marcy, we don't have to let that narrative be. And I'm not gonna let it be. I know that it's two people speaking into some mic in some room in Chicago, but you know, that still means that within the infinite space of my mind, I am not capitulating to the hatred of others, the hatred of the loudest losers out there. In my mind, you and I are free. All trans people are free. All Latin people are free. Everyone has food. Everyone has a dignified place to live. And you, whoever's listening, has had a good fucking lay in the last couple of weeks. Okay? Like, you could dream it.
It is incumbent on us to dream even when the revolution feels out of reach. We have to keep dreaming because that's the only way we're going to win. And trust me, we are going to win. Even if it's hard, even if it takes a long time, we will win.
Yeah, I like Empress of.
Mm-hmm.
However revolutionary her thoughts or her music is, all I know is that we need more of it.
Yeah. And, you know, she talks about in the interviews that she kind of abandoned this feeling of like, oh, I need to be more famous. Like she's already creating great art. She's already doing what she wants to do. She now has like her own label, which allows her to, I mean, that's like the first song, the Amber Mark song was the first song on her independent label. And she doesn't even need our accolades. She's already winning. And I love that for her. Like, do I want her to be more popular? Sure. Like, I hope there are some people who are listening to this now and are like, I've never heard of Empress. I'm going to start listening to her. Oh, this shit rules. But I know that she will keep making music, and I'm excited to keep listening to it.
And we'll continue to make this beautiful podcast of ours. Because now, until we are thrown in the vat of acid they'll be throwing us in, you can find us in Instagram
and Blue Sky
and YouTube under Dove Weather in all of them.
Yeah, don't forget to give us 5-star rating and a review, and tell your family over the dinner table about your favorite new podcast.
In fact, just tell them all to shut the fuck up. Get the Bluetooth speaker, put us on.
Yeah, just like hearing us talking about Empress of while people are gobbling turkey.
That's the future I want to see.
Me too.
Thank you so much for listening, folks.
Bye.
Bye.